Welcome to a video from thedigital-lifestyle.com. This is a multi-poly tutorial, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how you can recreate synths like the classic CS-80 on the multi-poly. And this was really inspired by my collection. I did a collection of 40 odd programs and performances for the multi-poly based on inspired by the CS-80. And I thought it'd be interesting to show the process that I used to recreate those sounds. Now, I don't have a CS-80 here. I'd love to have one here and play it alongside, but I do have the plugin from Cherry Audio, the GX80. And I thought I'd sort of show the way that I go through the sound design to go from listening to an audio source like the plugin to actually recreating it on the multi-poly. The multi-poly is a really good synth for recreating other synths because of its flexible sort of modular nature, that you've got different types of filters and envelopes. You've got two filters. You can route them in different ways, multiple oscillators. You can really rebuild synths based on the architecture of the classic synth. So as you see here, I've got the GX80, and I gave you the example I used there was the Chariot brass sound. It's not exactly 100% matched, but it's very much got that feel and that sound. And so let's have a look at the way that I would then break this down to recreate this. So I've already recreated, but what I'm going to do on my multi-poly here, so here on the multi-poly I've got an initial patch, which is where I start off, where I started off for that sound before, but I'm going to start from scratch now. And here we've got the GX80. So I think there's two things that you need to do when you recreated a sound like this, especially one that's from a preset that's got built-in effects. First of all, I always knock the effects off and add them back in at the end. And the second thing really is to understand the architecture of the synth that you tried to recreate. So you're not just going by ear, but you've also got some, you can put yourself in the mindset of the programmer of a CS-80, say, because you've got the same features and limitations that the synth has. So in terms of architecture, well, let's first of all, I always just check on here. Many of the presets on this GX80 use dual mode, which is two effectively CS-80s. So we can quite easily recreate that on the multi-poly. But when you're trying to create a sound, if you've got one with multiple layers and everything else, it gets quite confusing. So break it down. So I've gone into single mode. This was already in single mode, this one. But if you're using one of the complex ones in dual, put it into single, do half of it, then do the other half. Right, the second thing is the architecture of the synth. Right, so here we've got the oscillator section, then we've got a filter section, filter envelopes, and then the ADSR, the amp envelopes, and a bit of extra controls for touch response and that kind of thing. The CS-80 is a great performance instrument because of the aftertouch and the ribbon controller. I haven't got aftertouch on the multi-poly. It will respond to aftertouch, and I've got a key stage over there that can send that. So I might as well program that in. But there are some other things we've got. We've got the chaos pad, we've got the mob control. So there's other things we can do. So, and the other thing to note on here as well, the CS-80 has got two identical sections, 1 and 2. So 2 layers already. So, and they're pretty much the same. They are the same architecture on both of those layers. And then there can be a bit of a detune, and then it sort of goes through ring modulator and so on. So, and there's a sub oscillator as well. So for recreating that, we've got 4 oscillators and 4 layers of 4 oscillators. So we could switch between those layers. We could use multiple oscillators. We've got 2 filters, which is going to come in handy as well. We can route them in different ways. So depending on the sound design of the patch you want to recreate, I might do it a couple of different ways. But like, so we've got 4 layers to use up. So we've got plenty of oscillators and plenty of filters. Now, so let's turn off layer 2. And let's turn off the effects. Now already I can hear that's a sawtooth with the filter envelope and a bit of resonance. I would say that's without looking. But let's break it down further now and have a look. It's quite complex, the oscillator section. It's not just like a traditional sort of rotary switch for sawtooth and so on. You've got a high pass filter before you go through the low pass filter. So this is where the two filters on the multipoly come in handy. And then let's have a look. We've got two oscillator switches. So let's just switch those off and hear. Let's hear. So you can hear some audio coming through. So there is a bit of high pass coming through. Let me just let's open this up and see what it does. So you can hear it's actually letting a bit through, but with both those on, this is what we want to achieve. Let's. So I think that is a sort of sawtooth, but there is some PWM applied here. Let's try and have a listen. Let's try that speed really high, and then we'll be able to see if that has affected it. Yeah, it is. If we try it really low. So I think we've got, if we listen, we've got like a sawtooth. We've got a sawtooth and a square wave, and the square wave's got some PWM on it. And we've got a bit of, so we're going to need to use two oscillators to recreate that. That then goes through the filters, and then we can start shaping it. So we can use a sawtooth and PWM. Let's just focus on the PWM or the pulse width for now. So I'll turn this sawtooth off. Now what I should do would make it easier if we opened the filter up and got rid of the resonance, so we're hearing it as we'd hear it through here. So let's go and have a look. So there's the resonance, there's the low pass, and we've got a lot of envelope on it. So let's just open up that and get rid of the resonance. It sounds more like you can hear that PWM coming through there. I know we've got some envelope still from the amp, but let's just get this pulse right. So we need some pulse width modulation. Now, at this stage, when you're doing it, sometimes you've been fiddling with these controls to isolate things and you lost what the original setting was because you've been messing with it. So if you do that, then go back to the original and turn everything back off again and carry on from where you were. But I think it's about right. So we've got 17% PWM. It sounds quite thin to me. A bit slower. Maybe this is the time to look at the amp envelope. I can hear I think there is a bit of high pass on there. Now the decision is, do we use that high pass now, or there is another high pass here after both oscillators? So I'll leave that off for now. Let's just get that envelope right. It's a bit thinner, I think, so maybe I just need to turn that up a little bit more. Okay, let's not spend too much time on it. You could spend ages really narrowing it down, but I just wanted to give you a tutorial, not too deep. Let's go to the sawtooth layer. So I'll just switch that back on. Put that on. I don't think it makes a difference if you turn it. Yeah, there we go. You can hear that sort of sawtooth. I don't think that's too bad, actually. Let's put them both on. I don't think we need to worry about that high pass. Let's have a look if we've got some high pass here set at, oh, it's a band pass, sorry, this one. It's set at 51%. So what happens if we put that all the way down? Not much. All the way up? Not much, because I think it feeds into this one. So there's not much, actually. That's not shaping the sound that much. So I would say we don't need a high pass filter on there. But it was being shaped here. So let's just, so that's that bandpass filter there. Let's have a see what this high pass filter was doing. So it's currently set at, the pulse width one is set at 39%. So let's go all the way down, all the way up. Not making a huge amount of difference. And this is the pulse width on there. Let's try it. You can hear it a bit there. So it's not making a huge effect. So I think we'll skip messing about with that. So the next thing is I'm just going to reset back to the original. Let's turn the effects off. Turn that layer off. Now we can hear that filter. So let's have a go at recreating that. Actually, when I'm listening to that, there is a bit, I think, a bit too, I think a high pass might benefit for it. So it's probably a good thing for the tutorial as well. We're going to have a serial of a high pass going through the low pass. I'm going to choose the Moog style. There. It just, I think it does need that just a little bit. Just a little bit. And then of course we turn this filter on and we need some filter envelope on here. So you can see the filter envelope was already up and we've got a longish attack, they're a bit short, decay and a bit of release. So let's go to our envelopes, go to filter. We could model one of the others. We don't have a CS-80, so maybe I'll go with the Minimoog one. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference. So let's go with something like that. Turn down the filter level. In fact, it was already pretty much down, I think, on here, and turn the intensity up. I've just set the filter envelope there and it's not worked. That's because I'm on filter B, aren't I? Filter A, we just put fixed. So go to filter B. If you spotted that before I did, well done. Let's put some intensity on there. I think I need to bring that down a bit. Okay, that's probably close enough for this demo. And then we haven't got any modulation on there in terms of pitch. It's the filter modulation as the LFO. And then we've got the envelopes, which we've already done. And there's no panning on there. So we could now switch over to this other layer. And the reason why I was thinking of not using the high pass initially was because we've got two separate layers and one could have a completely different filter set up. So you could use that filter along with the other two oscillators. So far I've used these two oscillators to mirror that, and I've used the two filters to mirror the two filters sections on here. If I need to do the same thing, I've got the two oscillators still spare, but if I need to use the two filter types on here, I've run out of filters. So then if I was doing that, what I would do, would save this as one layer, and then I'd just fire up another layer and have that as part B. Before I do that, I'm going to investigate to see whether I really need to do that. So let's turn off 1 and go just on 2. There it's on its own. There's so the only audio difference I can hear, I think the panning is slightly different. Let's have a look. 20, 21. So yeah, so this is definitely close enough that I don't have to mess with the filters. So what I can just do is switch on these other two oscillators. So in fact, what I could do, see, these are pretty much the same value on this section, which means I could just copy this oscillator and paste it to there, copy that one and paste it to there. I'm going to go into my setup, turn on stereo filters, and I'm just going to pan them a bit left, them a bit right. And then let's have a look at here, the detune. Yeah, so you can see this one is detuned slightly. Okay, so just finishing off this, and my mic stopped, so I've only realised that when I came to editing, so I'm just going back to this now. And what I've done is done a bit of the detuning. So what I've done is turn these down a bit, and I think that's sounding pretty close now. Maybe that filter is a little bit bright. We could go to filter B and turn that down slightly. Turn down the intensity slightly. And then what I'm going to do on the filter envelope is just bring that peak down a bit and apply a bit more filter envelope. Maybe that decay. That's better. I could probably play all day and tweak that, but it's close enough. Maybe a bit of resonance. That's it. So I think that's pretty much close, so I can save that one. And really the same approach goes for all of any of the sounds I would do on the CS-80, is always to look at the layout, that how it's been created, and think like the CS-80 of the high pass, low pass filter, 2 layers, and the detuning between the layers. If you take something like the brass preset that's on the front here, it's actually pretty basic, especially if I knock the thing. If I take the brass preset there, just on one layer, so just have brass 1, it's actually pretty basic. And so when you're recreating that, which I did on the CS-80 collection, I've added a bit of effects on it. If I put the effects on here, probably that is a bit buzzier. That filter probably needs to come up a bit, but that's the approach you can take. You can just break it down by the segments. The other thing, of course, you've got is the ring mod, and I have done some of the presets for the CS-80 collection using ring mod. And even this Vangelis type sound uses a bit of ring mod on there, because the preset has a bit of ring mod on it, and the ring mod is pretty good on the, well, it's pretty great on the CS-80. It's all there, but it's at the global level, so it affects both layers, both oscillators sections at the same time. there's tons you can do to sort of when you're recreating these sounds, and this is my CS-80 collection. I spent a lot of time recreating some of those. Some of them are direct recreations, some of them are inspired by the way that the architecture of the CS-80. But anyway, that works for any synth that you're trying to recreate. If your synth is flexible enough to be able to work in the way that the synth you're trying to emulate is, then you've just got to break it down in the sections and work your way through it. The great thing about the multi-poly is it's very flexible, so you can recreate all different synths. You've got different filters, loads of mod routing, lots of oscillators and filters and envelopes to play with to give you that flexibility. CS-80 is probably one of the richest ones in terms of these capabilities with filters and everything else. Thanks for watching this video. There are 2 CS-80 sets you can download. There's a free version, and then there's the whole premium set as well. So check out that I'll include the links on with the video. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next one.